Hello, welcome back to Math 8. This is a video over Unit 4, Section 2, and what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be solving equations with the distributive property, okay? So we're just doing one variable linear equations using the distributive property, and something we want to focus on is justifying the steps taken to solve one variable linear equations involving the distributive property, okay? So the distributive property, we use this to remove the parentheses, okay, and then we have like a two-step equation and then, solve from there. So we're just adding on another step from what we did in the last section. So when I use the distributive property, and let's write this down over here, distributive property, okay, means that we take the number next to the parentheses, and multiply it by each term inside of the parentheses. Okay, and so let's do that here. And what I want to do, oftentimes, where people are going to get screwed up are your signs. Okay, so we got to be careful of that. And what I do whenever I have this number on the outside of my parentheses, okay, I'm going to draw these little arc marks to show that I'm going to multiply it by each of these numbers. Okay, this arc mark is the standard symbol in your work that you are distributing. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take -6 and I'm going to multiply it by 2x. Okay? Then I'm going to take -6 and I'm going to multiply it by -5, okay, and I'm going to set that equal to +6, okay? And now what we do, and it's important that we carry our sign over because that way we don't get screwed up. Because if you miss a sign somewhere, it's going to screw everything else up on the latter end of the problem, and we don't want to do that. So if I take -6 times 2x, that's going to give me -12x. If I take -6 times -5, that's going to give me +30. And that's going to equal 6, okay? Now what I want to do, now I have a two-step equation that we were used to in the previous section. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to subtract 30 from both sides, okay? And that's going to give me -12x is equal to, what is that, -24, okay? And so now, all right, I just want to do the opposite of multiplying by -12, and that's going to be dividing by -12. All right, these divide out to 1, and so we get that x is equal to 2, okay? +2. All right, so now remember what we want to do. When we have this, we do want to check. All right, so we're going to plug in 2. So I got -6 times 2 times 2 minus 5 is equal to 6. Okay, so what I want to do, at this point, we want to do order of operations. So we want to do what's inside the parentheses first. So I'm going to do 2 times 2, which is 4. So -6 times the quantity, 4, and then minus 5, and that's equal to 6. Okay. Now 4 minus 5, that's going to be -1. So -6 times -1 is that equal to 6. And -6 times -1, negative times negative is a positive, so we get 6 is equal to 6. And that itself is a true statement. So this is my solution, okay? So that's what we're doing, all right? Now, what I want you to realize is that, as I did this problem, I explained what I was doing, okay? And you guys often do this when you do math problems, but what you do is you just do them and you don't provide any sort of reasons why. Okay, so what we want to do in this next one is identify what we are doing from each step. So in step 1, okay, and here's what I do. I usually go from my initial step to this step. What we have done to solve this equation is, and if you look here, and this is something that's important for you to be able to do, is to look at the steps, the logic through a math problem, and determine exactly what they did from step to step. So in this first step, okay, what I would do is I would do the distributive property. Okay, so 4 times 3x gives me 12x, 4 times negative 5 gives me negative 20, equals negative 50. So what I did there was I did the distributive property. Okay, now the next step that I did, to isolate this is I would add 20 to both sides, okay, to move my 20 over. So from this step to this step, what I did was I did the addition property of equality, okay? And then from this step to this step, okay, what I did was I divided both sides by 12, all right? And so this is be the division property of equality, all right? And that's what we would do on that, all right? So, as much as I like to just do the math problems, it's important for us to be able to go through each step and identify what they did, okay? All right, let's go ahead and take a look at this problem here. Let's go ahead and solve this equation. What I'm going to do is I'm going to distribute my 10, okay? So I'm going to get 10 times A plus 10 times negative 4, and then that's going to equal 90. All right, so I've got 10A. 10 times negative 4 is negative 40, and that's equal to 90. All right, so what I want to do, now I have a two-step equation, okay? And oftentimes, I show this step in the video because I want you to really see what I'm doing, okay? You can skip from this step to this step, but I want you to be very mindful of your signs, okay? So what I would do to both sides at this point is I would add 40 to both sides, so addition property of equality. Okay, 40's cancel out. I'm left with 10A is equal to 90 plus 40, which is 130. Okay, and then I would do the division property of equality and divide by 10 on both sides. 10's divide out, and then my value for A, okay, would be 13. Okay, 130 divided by 10 is 13. Let's check this to verify that we are correct. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 10 times 13 minus 4. Does that give me 90? Okay. And so if I do what's inside the parentheses first, 13 minus 4 is 9. So 10 times 9. Does that give me 90? And that's true. 10 times 9 is 90. 90 equals 90. That's a true statement. So therefore, that is my answer. Okay. All right. Let's talk about a real world scenario. Okay. Janice is building a fence around a rectangular garden in her backyard, okay? The area of the garden will be 240 square feet. The width of the garden is X feet shorter than its length, which is 20 feet. How many feet of fencing does Janice need? Okay, so what I want to do is just draw a picture, okay? We have a rectangular garden, so I'm just going to draw a rectangle, okay? And here's what I have. I have a length and I have a width, okay? And here's what I know, okay? I know that the width of the garden is X feet shorter than its length, which is 20 feet. So what I can do is, when I'm reading this, I want to read it and say, all right, the length is 20 feet, okay? That's what I can gather from that information. So I'm going to put 20 feet here, and I know that my width is X feet shorter than my length, okay? So what I'm going to do is call this then that my width is going to be 20 minus X, okay? Now, the other thing I know is that my area, okay, is 240 square feet. So my area is equal to 240 feet, okay? Feet squared, all right? Now, what I want to know, it says, how many feet of fencing does Janice need? Okay, so, the question that we're trying to answer, okay, how many feet of fencing does Janice need? That is a perimeter question. All right, we're trying to find the distance around, okay, this value. So the perimeter, and I'm going to write this, that P is equal to 2 times my length plus 2 times my width. Okay, that's my formula for perimeter. Now we have the formula for area. Okay, now what I'm going to do is use my area formula to figure out what x is. Okay, and watch what I do here. Okay, I know what my area is. Okay, I know that that's 240 square feet. And that's going to be equal to my length, which is 20. So I'm going to plug in 20 for L, and then W, which is 20 minus X. Okay? And so what I have here is I have this problem where now I can solve for X. Okay? Now, at first I need to distribute my 20. So 20 times 20 is going to give me a value of 400. 20 times negative x is going to be minus 20x, okay, and then this is all going to be equal to 240. Okay, now I'm just going to solve this equation for x, okay, so I've got, I'm going to subtract 400 from both sides, okay, and so those are going to cancel out. I'm going to take 240 minus 400, and that's going to give me negative 160, and that's going to equal negative 20x. Now I'm going to divide both sides by negative 20, divide this by negative 20. So the negative 20s divide out, okay, and what you're left with is you're left with that x is equal to positive 8. Negative 160 divided by negative 20 is positive 8, okay? So now, okay, I have my x value. Now my width, what I want to figure out is my width, okay? And my width is equal to 20 minus x. Now I'm going to plug in 8 in for x here. So width is going to be 20 minus 8. Okay, and so my width then is going to be 12 feet, okay, where my length, okay, up here is equal to 20 feet, okay. And so what we want to figure out is the perimeter. How many feet of fencing does Janice need, okay, and so my perimeter, let's plug that in down here, 2L plus 2W. So I'm going to plug in my value for L, which is 20 feet. So P is equal to 2 times 20. Okay, and then plus 2 times W, which is 12. All right, so 2 times 20 is going to give me 40. So perimeter is going to be 40 plus 2 times 12, which is 24. Okay, so my perimeter that we're going to use is going to be 64 feet. So guys, yes, this is a lot of work, okay? But the expectation is that we are able to do this. Now, none of this is out of your realm, okay? And I want you to understand that. All of this is reasonable stuff for you to be doing, okay? And so that's all I've got for this, all right? So all we did, guys, was just introduce a new concept of the distributive property, and that's it. Everything else is the same, and all things that you're capable of doing, okay? So we're going to conclude this video. Hope you enjoyed it, and let's get started on the notes quiz and the assignment and the Edgenuity quiz. See you in a bit. Bye!